Hello and welcome to the Habitat Project podcast, where we talk about cultivating good habits, pursuing our dreams, and enjoying life. I am Anthony, and these are my findings on how to make the most out of each day and enjoy the process along the way. Let's go. Hello everybody, welcome back to episode 48 of the Habitat Project podcast. In this episode, I talk about my why I am building Habitat Mind Body, why I'm risking my life savings to get this business up and running. I think it's important to start with our underlying reason, our reason of being, why we're doing something. I think that if we have a strong enough reason, when the challenges come, when things get tough, when unforeseen circumstances arise, we can remember and rely on our reason, and we can find our way through. So in this episode, I want to talk about why Habitat Mind Body, why I train the mind, and why I think it's important for our community to do that as well. Why I train the body, why I practice and study Stoic philosophy, and why building this community, why I want to build this community. I will also have an update on the progress for the opening of Habitat Mind Body, and talk about how that's all going, and the target soft opening date as well, which is quite exciting. Well, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Why train the mind? Why practice meditation? Why do I need to understand how my mind works, or the patterns that it has? I think it's, and these are not in any sort of priority or order, it's about awareness. So if I'm aware about how the mind thinks, what the mind thinks, what's going on in terms of thoughts and emotions, I practice not being pushed and pulled by every impulse, by every thought, by every emotion that comes up. When I'm able to do this, I'm more aware, and I'm able to make better decisions. I'm able to live better. So I think that's the basic reason why I meditate. If I don't do that, then maybe I believe in every thought and emotion that comes up, and I get pushed and pulled by them, and they might not be the most useful or beneficial for the situation. But when I do practice meditation and practice creating this space, practice observing the thoughts and emotions, and I also subscribe to the school of thought that the story of who I am is in itself a thought as well. So by practicing that, I don't have to be pulled by the narratives. It's also a practice in bringing the mind to the present. I find that my mind likes to think into the future, likes to plan ahead, likes to put things into a plan, and that can be useful and not useful sometimes. So it can be useful because, well, then I've got a plan, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, I know how to allocate my resources. But it can also be the source of anxiety, because literally the future is not here yet, and by me wanting to have something that is outside of my control because it's not here yet, and thinking about, or what if it doesn't happen, what if I can't get it, what if I fail in doing in achieving it, etc. It can be a source of anxiety, and puts my central nervous system into fight or flight mode, and it's stressful. So by practicing bringing the mind to the present, I'm able to realize or observe that those are the thoughts that exist and the reason why that anxiety exists, and accepting that, well, that's just how the mind is in the moment. It allows for those thoughts to pass through, and it allows me to look at what the situation requires in the present, be able to create whatever perspectives that are necessary, that would be more useful in the present. Allows me to be more resourceful as well, looking at the reality, quote unquote reality of the situation, looking at what I am able to do, what resources I still have, what money, time, network, knowledge, skills, whatever it might be that I currently have, and how to apply those in the moment. And that all of that, I think, stems from being able to come back to the present, because sometimes I definitely do this, I take on the whole scope of works, or the whole overall big goal, or like what I want to achieve. When I take all of that in, or when I try to take all of that in, it can be very overwhelming, and it can lead to me being paralyzed, I guess. There's like a bit of a paralysis by analysis situation. So by practicing bringing the mind back to the present through formal meditation practice, and grounding myself to the present, being aware of my senses, following the current characteristic or sensation of breath, and using different techniques to sit with and sense into the openness of the present. When I do that, I'm able to be more effective. And when I do that in the peaceful state, as in like when there is no real big problems, when I'm just sort of chugging along from my day to day, that creates a pattern of behavior, and a habit. And this is particularly useful for, obviously, for the day to day, because I'm more effective, but also for when things go bad, when there's a crisis. When there's a crisis, the central nervous system goes to fight or flight. That's what I just experienced recently with all the things happening all at once. For those of you that didn't listen to the last episode, so basically I had to go back to Jakarta for a bit of a emergency, and then coming back, Leah had surgery, and we also were getting kicked out of our apartment because the landlord wants to sell the unit. And at that time, I didn't know whether or not the business, Habitat Mind Body, was going to be able to continue with the current lease that I was negotiating. So a lot of shit happening all at once put the central nervous system into constant fight or flight, and I had the stress response, increased heart rate, high blood pressure, I'm sure, not being able to sleep, not being able to eat, waking up in cold sweat in the middle of the night, multiple times a night, and just having this emotional roller coaster experience. And during those times, I was able to rely on the meditation practice that I had built. It didn't stop the external circumstance, the quote unquote bad things from happening. It didn't stop that. All those things were still, in reality, all those things were still needing to be dealt with. But what it did allow me to do was to observe, be compassionate, create a space of gentleness for these feelings, these emotions, these narratives to come up and be processed. And through this period, I was able to deepen my practice. I was able to understand the way that the mind and body worked during high stress and crisis periods. And I was able to calm myself down, put the central nervous system back to rest and digest so that I could be more effective in dealing with the situation. Now, if I didn't already have a meditation practice and all these things were coming up, I think I would have not been able to be as effective. If I had to relearn or learn all the techniques or learn the habit to get through this, it wouldn't have been a pattern that I would be able to fall back on. So why train the mind? Because it creates, I guess, a habit for when things go bad that you can fall back on. And also it brings the nervous system back to rest and digest, back to the parasympathetic mode as opposed to the sympathetic or the fight or flight. We aren't supposed to stay in the fight or flight. Our ancestors, our biology evolved in a way where, so for our ancestors, they had whatever threat, animals, other tribes, natural occurring dangers, and their bodies, their central nervous system went to fight or flight. And for them, once they have dealt with the danger, once they have dealt with the threat, and the danger and threat is no longer present, their bodies would go back to rest and digest. And they're able to sit, they're able to eat, they're able to be with their tribe and their families, and they're able to relax. So our nervous system is supposed to go from fight or flight back to rest and digest, back to fight or flight when needed, back to rest and digest, and it's supposed to go back and forth like that. But during a high stress and crisis period that we experience now, sometimes the central nervous system is just in fight or flight for an extended period of time. And that's not how our mind and body is supposed to handle stress. The stress, the threat and danger that we face now are not the same as those of our ancestors. And even though, and we still have the same sort of hardware, the same evolutionary biology, but the stimulus or the stressor has changed. We need to deal with modern stresses, modern causes of stress, and modern threats and dangers. These threats and dangers are maybe not so much physical, they're more maybe psychological or mental, because in modern society or in modern life, the need for basic living, basic food is largely that problem has been largely solved. But the problems that we have are what we, I guess, see on social media, what we perceive as dangerous, and what we perceive as threats in terms of business or other people or other countries. And because of our access and connectedness through the internet, through social media, we are constantly being bombarded, or any message that comes to us at any point in time could be giving us this bad news. So sometimes these days it's very difficult for us to turn off or switch from the parasympathetic or the fight or flight mode back to our rest and digest. Now, the practice of mindfulness meditation allows us to allow the mind and body to know, like, hey, there's no danger here, there's no real threat here, and to create that space, and the central nervous system is able to switch to rest and digest, and that allows us to be more calm, that allows us to be more effective. So those are my reasons for why I practice and why I think it's important for us to have a meditation practice. I know it's not necessarily a spiritual thing, although for me the spiritual aspect is very important, but it is a pragmatic approach to handle the challenges that life brings onto our path. It also, because we are more present, we practice being more present, it's also not just for when things go bad. Because we practice being more present, we're then also able to be more present when we're going through the good things in life, and we're able to enjoy it more in the moment with the people that mean the most to us. So that's also why I think training the mind, or practicing mindfulness, or practicing meditation is important. And I think that when we are able to do that, especially in a group, we're able to connect with ourselves and each other in a different way, because we all become aware, we practice, or we understand, like, wow, our mind, we're not the only ones that think this way, so we're able to connect, we're able to be more compassionate to ourselves and each other. And that is something that I'm really grateful to be able to do, and I'm really excited to do it with the community at Habitat Mind Body when we open. Let's move on to why train the body. I don't know if it seems obvious, training the body, having fitness and health is very important. But I think when I sit down to really think about why I train my physical body, is because we didn't invent or ask for this body that we've been given. We were born with it, and yes, there are changes throughout life, but we only have this one body to take care of and to experience life with. In Stoic philosophy, we are taught that the body is not our own, because it can be taken away at any moment. Our health can be taken away at any moment, but we can put ourselves in best position to make the best out of how the body works, to learn the way of nature, to learn about our biology, and to put ourselves in best position to make it work as best it can. Fitness is also a buffer against illness. In the CrossFit Level 1 course, we get taught the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum, where the indicators or the markers for someone who is sick, someone who is well, and someone who is fit are the same indicators, are the same markers. So the measurements for, our resting heart rate, for blood pressure, cholesterol, glucose levels, and so on are all the same metrics. So the idea is, or the concept is, that if you train yourself to be fit and you're on the fitness side of the continuum in terms of these markers, when something goes wrong and when whatever environment you're in, whatever situation you are in, causes you to maybe be unable to train, or because of whatever the circumstance is, or because you are just getting sick, you don't necessarily immediately fall to sickness levels. Now, I'm not talking about necessarily, the common flu, or, having a cough because of a change in weather, or, your immune system taking a bit of a hit because, you haven't slept well in the short term. This is more, in the long term for chronic illnesses. Of course, in the short term as well, if you have a good training habit, you're healthy and fit most of the time, your body will also be able to fight off the common cold and common illnesses more effectively as well. But if we do train, have a training habit, when we, for whatever reason, aren't able to train, those numbers, those metrics, your heart rate, your blood pressure, glucose levels, all of that, cholesterol, doesn't just fall straight to, or body fat percentage doesn't fall straight to the sickness levels, right? It will go from the fitness to the middle level section, of the continuum, which is wellness, before it falls to sickness. So it is a buffer. Fitness is a buffer against illness, and that's the other reason why we train. Another reason is because we are evolved to move. We still have the same hardware as our ancestors, and our ancestors, to deal with threats and dangers, they needed to move. They needed to hunt. They needed to fight. They needed to get away. They moved their bodies. They were also nomadic. They changed and walked for long distances. They changed their areas of living and walked long distances. So our bodies evolved to move, and the physical movement helps the mind and body and nervous system move from fight or flight and rebound to the rest and digest. And this was something that I noticed and remembered recently from going through this crisis period that I'm going through, is that when I didn't train for that first sort of week or week and a half, and I was just putting out fires and in this firefighting mode, fight or flight mode, the mind was just looping in, really harmful and negative thoughts all the time. And I guess it's a low dopamine state, because it was like really low motivation, and it was just all fear-based decisions, fear-based actions. But from that first training session back, this top-down approach, or like getting the mind to get the body to do something, and to do something hard that it doesn't necessarily want to do, almost immediately, like in that first workout, the mind shifted from these fear-based, negative spiraling thoughts to be open to like possibilities, solutions, and like motivation, inspiration. It was super crazy. So like, for example, so what happened was, one of the things that we're dealing with is needing to move. And so when we didn't know where we were going to move to, etc., it was the uncertainty was really difficult to deal with. But then during the workout, the thoughts shifted and it literally moved to, but think about all the possibilities. If you lived here, what would happen? If you lived here, what would happen? If you lived here, what would happen? And it was like looking, the mind, it was like automatic. I didn't consciously think about this, but it was just coming up, right? If we stay in the building, or we're going to be closer to where Habitat Mind Body would be, it would be really comfortable to be able to get to work efficiently. If we move to the suburbs, it would be cool to experience living in a townhouse, something new that we hadn't experienced before. And it's also a good stepping stone to what we want to have in the future, and experiencing how to take care of a house. So all of these things were coming up during the workout when we got the body moving, and I got the body moving, and I got the body to do something that it didn't necessarily want to do. That movement created momentum and inspiration, and the mind sort of automatically went to this openness, this looking at possibilities and looking at solutions, which is really cool. That was a really cool experience. Last but not least, on why I train the body, because it's fun, right? It's cool to see the adaptations that happen, something that was difficult before, in terms of a weight or a time to complete a certain workout, or a skill that I didn't have previously, and being able to acquire the new skills, being able to acquire the level of a gain of strength and fitness. That's fun. Not to mention having healthy competition with those around you. It's super fun. It's an environment that I feel like I thrive in from when I was a little kid, and I really enjoy it. So that wraps up why train the body. And next, why study Stoic philosophy, or why is Stoic philosophy going to be a part of what we do at Habitat Mind Body? Well, Stoic philosophy gives us a pragmatic philosophy, a pragmatic approach, a operating system to help navigate through life. Many things can happen and that are outside of our control. Stoic philosophy has helped me not only in getting through the crisis of when natural disaster destroyed our family business, but it's also helped me through the day-to-day, and now it's helping me getting through this crisis as well. It helps with giving a perspective on the situation. It helps with allowing us to see that our perspective is something that is always within our control. No one can force us. They can torture us to try to force us to have certain perspectives, but actually, if we really don't see it a certain way, no one can actually force us to do that. Only we can change our own perspectives and change our own way of perceiving a situation. It teaches us to be resourceful, looking at what we do have, what we can do, what we do know, and links with mindfulness in that it brings us to what is within our control, what we can do in the moment. Stoic philosophy also teaches us to cultivate virtuous characteristics, virtues of wisdom, morality, moderation, and courage. And these have been very important in my own experiences and development. For wisdom, looking at every situation that comes our way, every challenge, every obstacle as an opportunity to learn, to be a student of life, to learn from life, to acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to overcome the obstacles that are in our way on route to our goals, and to understand ultimately what is within our control, and to focus on those things and to let go of the things that are outside of our control. Morality, to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. It's easy to take the shortcut, and to look for ways to not get caught. However, if we're even a little bit corrupt, we're already corrupt, and that can bleed into lots of things. And it's a very short-sighted way of solving a problem, and it could lead to larger detrimental effects in all areas of our life. So having a guideline, having a structure, a philosophy to live by allows me to make sure that I do the right thing, and to not take shortcuts, and keep everything above board in all the things that I do, whether that's in my relationship, in my business, in whatever, in everything. And Stoic philosophy has reminded me of that on a day-to-day basis. The virtue of moderation, self-control, taking the middle path, not getting too high when things go well, not stooping too low when things are bad or challenging. Also self-control in consumption, not just constantly chasing the dopamine high, not just constantly looking to buy more, consume more, have more, binging. Stoic philosophy has reminded me of that on a day-to-day basis, to take the middle path, to do things reasonably, and to take each step as best I can, and not having to whip myself excessively, unnecessarily, in order to get things done, because I also noticed that I have that sort of pattern as well. Lastly, courage, to put order into chaos, to see that the default of the mind is a little bit chaotic. It is chaotic. It's random, it's chaotic. Different thoughts come and go all the time. Emotions come and go all the time. And that is also the way we perceive situations. So the practice of courage, or the cultivation of courage, is our ability to create space and not be pushed and pulled by the impulse, by the signals of fear, to see that there may be danger, but how to overcome that danger, what to do about it, what's within our control, what's not within our control, and to be able to take the steps necessary as best we can into the situation, so that we can go through the challenge, go through the obstacle, and come out the other way. And that's the cultivation of courage, or my understanding of it, that is being taught in Stoic philosophy. I think it's cool to use this philosophy in the way that I live, in the way that we live our lives, and I want to be able to ingrain the teachings of philosophy into the way that Habitat Mind Body operates. In a formal setting, we will be using the different teachings in the meditation sessions during our journaling. It'll be, inquiries of the different teachings. There will be journaling with the different teachings. There will be creation of action plans to create thought and emotional patterns and habits based around these teachings. And also when somebody is going through challenges, to remind each other of different ways that the challenges can be handled with the teachings from Stoic philosophy. Moving on, why build a community? Well, we aren't supposed to go through things alone. During this crisis, like I mentioned in the previous podcast, I was able to lean on my family and friends. I was calling my parents, calling my brother, calling my friends, almost every day, updating them, talking to them, and just being able to bounce ideas off them is huge. The quality of our relationship correlates to the quality of our life. The better quality of our relationship, the better quality of our life. So a community is so important. We aren't supposed to just be alone and go through things alone. And I want to have a community that helps one another, pushes one another, be compassionate with one another, because I think that's what it's all about. And we sometimes lose that in modern life. We think we have to go through things alone, and we don't. That's not true. So I want to build a community so that we can do that, so that we can cultivate quality relationships, quality relationships with one another, and improve the quality of our life. Second last thing, progress for the Habitat Mind Body, how it's all looking, and when I think we can open, when I shoot for our soft opening. So currently the lease terms have been agreed on. We just need to finalize some of the wording. So hopefully next week, the week of Monday, the 4th of November, this can be signed. In parallel to this though, the design drawings have started to be transferred from our Indonesian designer Elnor to our Australian designer. And hopefully next week, we can also send that in for approval from the retail design manager of the District Docklands. Then we are also finalizing the contracts for the contractor. This is obviously subject to getting our building permits, getting the design done, and so on. So this is also looking to sign this also next week. In terms of the equipment, that's actually ready to go. They just need 6 weeks notice. So after next week, if everything is signed and I know when the building permits are coming, I will notify the equipment supplier, and they will look to send the equipment over. And basically in the next 2 or 3 weeks, all of these are all going in parallel. And I'm still targeting for the soft opening to happen during middle of December, and the grand opening in January. There are still a lot of things that are unknown, such as getting the council approval and the building permit, but all I can do is focus on what's within my control and put ourselves in best position to influence the outcome and to get that as soon as we can. Lastly, why am I risking my life savings to get this done, to get this business up and running? Well, because we only get to experience life once. And I genuinely enjoy being around a community of guys who are pushing themselves, motivating each other, supporting one another through tough times. It's something that I've been lucky enough to be a part of from a young age, whether that's from playing competitive basketball to the different gym and CrossFit communities that I've been a part of, to my friendship circle in general, have been really awesome groups and communities, and it's something that I really cherish, and it's something that I want to be able to build in a formal manner to reach more people and to help others who might not have those communities and circles to be able to be a part of a supportive community. I think also I have had quite a unique experience in my previous career, I guess, of working for a power plant company in the corporate world, and experiencing the downfall of that with a natural disaster. So I guess experiencing going through extreme stress situation, financial stress situation, not just for the company but for family as well. And I think going through that and experiencing that allows me to understand a level of financial stress, a level of loss, a level of hopelessness and despair that can be a result of, the downfall of a business and of our livelihood. Combine that with my passion, my experience, my love for training the mind and body. I think that I can connect with those who connect with those stressed out entrepreneurs, which is probably every entrepreneur and professional, and to be able to help those of you who are going through the challenges for your business, the challenges in your careers, and to train the mind and body together, and to support one another through this journey. Because that journey can be extremely lonely. The entrepreneurial journey, it could feel like nobody else understands your problems, and maybe your unique set of circumstances is different, but the overall, we can find commonalities in the overall, and be able to connect with each other through that and support one another through that. I think this is my little way of serving the world and adding value into the world. And I think that if I can do that and take care of the 150 to 200 inhabitants and take care of them well, I can be of service. And obviously the business needs to make money and be profitable in order to continue to serve, in order to support myself and my family, and to support the community as well. So that brings us to the end of this episode. That's my why. Those are my reasons. I'm doing this because I feel like, because we only live once. We only do this. I do this because I get the opportunity to live. I get the opportunity to experience this life. And by being a student of life, being a student of the mind and body, being a student of philosophy, it allows me to put myself in the best position to experience and make the best out of life. And I want to be able to share that with others. We are having a Founding Inhabitants promo. So if you are interested in training with us, training with me at Habitat Mind Body, check out our website, habitatmindbody.com, and sign up for being a founding inhabitant, and that will automatically give you 30% off all memberships when they go on sale. So basically you'll type in your details, and when the memberships come up, you'll be contacted, and you can make a choice then as to what membership will best suit you, and you'll get 30% off all the membership options. Please follow us on YouTube, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Let us know why you train or why you meditate, or maybe if you're already studying Stoic philosophy and been applying them, why you do that as well. please give us a 5-star review on Spotify. That will help this little show that I'm building again. And that's it. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.